Welcome to Drive Time HR from Complex HR, where people problems meet practical fixes. Today's hosts, Helen and Helen, and in the hot seat, Ruby Melling and Victoria Bond. Buckle up, it's time to take the people stuff on the road.
Okay, so today's guest is Ruby Melling and Victoria from Talent Loop. Now, the awkward thing, I'm just going to own this. I thought it was just Ruby, but I should know. They're like the Helens. Ruby and Victoria work together. So this intro is about Ruby, but Victoria's here as well, and we're really looking forward to speaking to both of them. So as I said, co-founder of Talent Group, Loop, queen of flexible working and mild office rebel. If HR had a cool cousin who actually got stuff done, it would be Ruby. So buckle up and let's speak to Victoria and Ruby.
Oh, good winging, Helen.
Thank you. We just. Okay, so ladies, what's working and what's not about hybrid working in SMEs?
How brutal am I being?
Oh, it's us, Ruby. Be brutal as you like.
I just don't. I don't really see it working very well.
Oh, interesting.
And to give a bit of background, Ruby, you would actually be a very flexible employer. You are a very flexible employer. So the minute people hear people say, "Oh, hybrid working doesn't work," they just assume they've got an issue with flexibility, which we know you don't. So why do you not think it's working very well?
I think overnight we went from being in the majority of people being in the office 5 days a week to fully remote, and then now we've tried to kind of mash the two together without looking fundamentally at like what that means and how then people need to communicate to each other and what gets signed off and what not. And I think hybrid working can be phenomenal, but if you really look into how you work hybridly as a business, a lot of people and a lot of departments have kind of gone off and done their own thing, but then not realised that all of them connect. And when it comes to the higher piece at SLT, an exec, not much is getting done. So a lot of things are happening and moving, but we're seeing delays to things getting signed off, real misunderstanding and misalignment across businesses as well. Because I think we've again tried to rush to do a one size fits all and say, okay, we're hybrid. Whereas the CEO might think hybrid is 1 day a week working from home. Then we've got people interviewing, it's, we're dead flexible.
Yeah,
you can come on board as you please. And they start into the organisation and it's nothing like they were pitched it being. So I think it can be great, but I just don't think the way that it's working currently is working.
That's really interesting because I thought you'd be on the side of flexibility. It's great, working from home all the time. That's really interesting because we're dealing with a lot of businesses now who are thinking actually it's not working for them, people working from home. So yes, it works for a lot of businesses, but it doesn't, as you say, one size does not fit all.
I think it works for a lot of employees. I don't know how many employers it works for particularly, because I know you have.
I think what happened was we kind of muddled along during COVID, didn't we? We were all making it up literally on a daily basis. And then COVID finished, or we all kind of came out of lockdown and we kind of forgot to stop making it up as we go along.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And so some of the fundamental stuff, so like, Ruby and I are working with some clients, for example, whose kind of talent model relies upon that mentoring and people being sat next to each other, and nobody's kind of sat down and thought, right, how are we going to do this differently now that we're in a hybrid workplace. Or another client who actually are remote first, and it's having a lot of wellbeing issues because the employees are now tiring of it. And I don't know whether you guys are finding the same, but it's almost like there's something that's really picked up pace in the last, probably 12 months, where there's lots of organisations going, we probably need to stop muddling along now and start to tackle some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're seeing lots of problems with working from home now. And it, there are some great things about it. I mean, we work from home, we love it. But there are a lot of issues for a lot of smaller businesses. So what's the best and worst thing about your own remote working setup? Because I know you actually work partly from home, I think, and partly in one of the
Offices in Manchester.
offices in Manchester, without naming them, in case you've got anything bad to say about them. I'm sure you haven't.
We've also got staff in the Philippines as well.
Of course you have, yes.
Yeah.
How's that going?
I think because we are smaller and we are quite agile, not one week ever looks the same
Yeah.
in our business. So I think the pros of it are that we can be flexible, we can kind of see our clients as quickly as we need to, we can move things around. But I think one of the things that we've implemented is we have core days in the office where no matter what, me and Vic have got that time together to look at not just what's going on delivery wise, but from a more operational standpoint. It's the balance of working in the business and working on it.
Yeah.
My thoughts recently have changed on hybrid. So I was very much in the office 5 days a week. I can't concentrate working from home. Whereas I've had a number of quite serious health issues this year, which has made me have to have more of a hybrid, flexible working life, which I do quite struggle with.
Yeah, it's hard. I think one of the things as well with hybrid working, it's about communication. So communication is a lot easier in a smaller business. But I think going back to what you were saying, it suddenly happened with this hybrid setup and no one's really thought about how it's going to work. And a lot of smaller businesses are losing that culture that they've really taken time to develop. I think one of the key things for me about working with other managers, which is I think how I learned most in terms of HR, is having your manager sat next to you. Or, we used to sit by an employment lawyer. It was absolutely invaluable. And I think the younger generations aren't, unfortunately, having that opportunity.
It's probably one of the biggest challenges we see at the minute around, because we've never had so many generations in a workforce before that have such different experiences when it comes to the working world, when it comes to progression and learning. So me coming from high street recruitment agencies, if you weren't at your desk half an hour before your official start time, you were late. Yeah. If you left on time, you were seen as a part-timer. And I think I am glad that I got brought up in that environment, because it's instilled a lot in me that I've taken through to running a business. But the way that I learned was by hearing someone on the phone dealing with this type of issue. How do you deal with that type of objection, etc.? And I think the millennials, my generation, have fought so much for flexibility and hybrid working, whereas now we've got a generation that there is a level of entitlement to, I want flexible working straight away, I want this salary. But I think employers have kind of missed that gap of we are then responsible for training and learning and development, and the way that you did it 20 years ago is not like the investment that needs to go into people and learning and the way we learn. What worked 3 to 4 to 5 years ago doesn't work now with AI and everything coming in. So yeah, it's really challenging, and we work across multiple industries and we see it in every industry, don't we, Vic?
Yeah.
Not even about the size of the business. There's not one size fits all. It just depends on the business and the sector, etc. It's really hard. And I think also there's the people you forget that actually don't have a setup at home. They're expected to work from home, and they might be working in the parents,
don't want to work.
or don't want to work.
Loads of people don't want to work.
There are, and the parents' bedroom, etc. And I think they're often forgotten, sadly. So what about so are we really measuring outcomes, do you think, or just screen time? Your businesses, how are they measuring it?
Because I know people who just touch the screen a couple of times and then go off to the gym again.
So as much as people like to think that they measure on outcomes, we very rarely see it. Very rarely. And I think that's because the systems aren't set up right. The measures aren't set up right. They've not got the right data in place. But partly it's because they're being managed by forgive me, Gen X and millennials or whoever, who actually, that is so flipping hardwired into everybody, that 9 to 5 presenteeism. And I think sometimes we forget how hard it is to let that go.
Yeah.
And I think I'm fascinated over the next couple of years about how we're going to see the workforce changing, because Gen Z and those ones who actually are the ones who are entitled about flexible working and hybrid working, and they're going to be the ones who are in those management roles making the decisions.
Having to be productive, having to have the outcomes, having to make money and keep businesses afloat. Well, I have a big issue with how are they going to do that if they're just managing a bunch of people they've never met or know what they do?
I also think though that a lot we seem to how do I say this? There's a lot of blame on Gen Z. There's a lot of blame on the more junior people within a workforce around outcomes. But I also believe that there's not clarity from senior leadership teams on exactly what do you want? What's the strategy? Especially in a lot of these very, 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 very fast growth businesses, we've got people at the top that have never been at the top before. And then understanding, okay, so really, what are the measures? Where do you want impact? You can't just do a shit. Can I swear?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's okay. You're with us, Ruby. No one can hear this. Honestly, no one.
You can't just do a shit list of 20 things and then think that your senior management team understand when you want it done and how you want it done and why. And then we call it like a squeezed middle. So we see so much frustration at that senior management level because the top level aren't being very clear on, KPIs, numbers, figures, outcomes. And then when that senior management team try and translate that vision and the strategy,
Yeah.
it gets so missed that then a lot of people then don't really know what they are getting measured on in the first place. So then they come to the performance reviews and the way off, but every kind of element of that hierarchy, we'll go into businesses usually about 100 headcount, and we see what SLT, SM and SMT, what they think they want compared to what they actually want are two
Yeah.
totally different things. And then when it gets to quarterly reviews, SMT get bollocked because they've not gone and done what SLT thought. They were very clear that they wanted the outcomes to be. So fortunately, we can change it, but it has to come from the top. We can't keep blaming middle managers and more junior level staff for they're not doing the work, because I don't think a lot of companies are very clear on what good looks like.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
It's really important.
And I also think a lot of people are trying to do square peg round hole with people.
Oh, yeah.
They've hired in people. They've not been really clear on job description. Then 12 months later, things have changed and they're like, right, they said we're going to do things now. And it's like, well, I don't have that level of experience that you're wanting, because a lot of people have overhired and really irresponsibly hired.
Irresponsibly hired, that's a good term. And actually that happens a lot, doesn't it? They just want bums on
Bums on seats.
But they just want bums on seats, and then people are left feeling like they're underperforming when actually they're not underperforming. They just shouldn't have been recruited into that role in the first place.
It was really interesting. So what culture killers should leaders watch out for?
Oh, culture killer. The first one that springs to mind that we see often is that is a massive culture killer is failure to deal with underperformance.
Oh, yes.
So people who are sat with peers who they can see are underperforming, we measured like underperformance in two ways. It's not just about are you delivering against your job description, it's about how you're doing it. So we talk about high performing jerks, and we've all met those people, the people who they sign the 10k deal, but actually at what consequence and at what cost. Anyway, but yeah, so those, when that doesn't get dealt with, either because there's not the skill set, there's an avoidance of conflict, or because they'd rather have the 10k than the great culture in their business, it just kills culture dead. The resentment that builds is unbelievable.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with a client the other day, and they've been putting off dealing with this for about a year, an underperformer, because they're worried it's going to disrupt the business. And I said, this person is disrupting your business now because you've got all their peers around them seeing them underperforming, and you are letting them get away with it. You can't underestimate the effect that has.
And not all disruption's bad disruption.
No,
You know,
no.
I think a lot of companies are so scared to rock the apple
Shake
cart.
it up a bit, yeah.
Do nothing though is not an option.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then they get to the point where when they do then try and tackle it, it's not just one person going. That's usually a domino effect where people are so frustrated. You know, companies are always talking about, we want engagement, we want honesty, we want feedback. No, you don't.
They don't.
Unless you're
unless
not
it's
going to do
good.
anything about it. Yeah, unless you're doing nothing about it. There was someone that I don't work with anymore. But before the business, when I was like a fractional talent person, I worked with, and I walked away from the contract because when I initially went in to do the discovery kind of element of what was going on, they had this what looked like a great engagement platform. So then I sat with the CEO and I was like, so then what do you do with this information? He said, I just delete it. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, the bad ones I just delete, and then I keep the good ones and I send those to our investors. And I was like, you're what?
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I think companies, again, we talk about culture killers and what we want from employees, but employers need to understand that if you want warts and all transparency, you're going to have to, one, acknowledge it, and two, do something about it. If not,
Don't ask.
there's just no, it's worse to even do it. Just don't, if you're not going to do anything with it, just don't do it in the first place. It's way more damaging.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
hard. So how can you make office time actually work it? So going back to the hybrid working, how can you make it getting employees back into the office worth their time and also the business's time, in your opinion?
Yeah, good question. So, to give you an example of often a place where we start when we're working with people is about career paths. And we know that people, you join an organisation, a majority of people join an organisation if they're career minded to progress their career and move on. And a lot of the time that career progression can be really unclear. So making it clearer for people about how they progress through the organisation, giving them a mentor that's worth their time coming into the office, making it really clear why it's important that you sit next to Claire in accounts and listen to, what she's doing. Going out with the the Charlie from business development or whatever. I think sometimes we miss that question about what's in it for me, and we might have to dig deep sometimes, because actually oftentimes the reason for being back in the office, like you said before, it works for employees and not for employers. So we've got to get to the bottom of what is in it for that employee. And I think the best thing that we can rely on is that career development.
Yeah, and companies aren't often, the ones we see aren't often very good at having a very clear career structure. They're really not. That's a really good point, Victoria. Thanks for that. Right.
Yeah.
So we've got we're going to have HR myths busted. 3 quick questions. Either of you could, or you can both answer at the same time if you want. So, true or absolute rubbish? Remote workers are less productive.
Oh, you know what? No, false. I'm going false.
Oh, you're playing it safe.
Oh, come on, Ruby. Keep it real.
Why do you just
I'm
say they
less
can
productive
be?
at home. I think it depends what type of person you are, and I also think it depends on what type of role you're in as well. I think for someone like me, a lot of the work that I've done in the past is very people-led. It's about building those relationships, from bringing on new clients to building relationships with candidates. I will die on this hill. You cannot build a culture remotely. I do not believe you can build a successful culture remotely. You might think you've got a culture, whereas you go and ask your business what it is, I can guarantee it'll all be misaligned. I think if there's people who work in, like developers, for example, they want to lock themselves away and get the head down and put the headphones in and not be distracted by someone like me standing around the office. Fine, they're going to be more productive. But I think if you're in a sales or a creative type role, I get energy off other people, so I'm way more productive when I'm sat around others.
Yeah.
But I think it just completely depends. Can you as an individual be really strict on your time and the work and the output that you're putting in for that day? Because if I work from home, I'm making a brew, I'm going speaking to the receptionist because I'm bored, I'm putting a wash on. Whereas if I'm in the office, this is my work time, I can get things done. I think if you can switch on and off work when you sit down at your desk at home in the daytime, fair enough.
I do think it's a bit. I think the danger though are the people. So you're very self-aware. It's the people who work from home, think they're being productive, and have done absolutely nothing. And yet, if you ask them, "Are you really busy?" "Oh, work's so busy. Work's so busy." But they've sat at home and gone running 4 hours that day.
So
and actually,
because the other problem you've got as well is when we were in the office prior to the pandemic, if I needed to go and get something from Holly, or Holly, have you got a minute? Yeah. Whereas now it's hi. So the time that it would have taken me to ask that question, I've now, hi Holly, are you available at any point today? Please have a no, I'm not actually. Okay, tomorrow. So then the thing that I could have got ticked off like that is then push back.
Yeah, so it's not efficient.
So what are we going to do? So basically, I want to work with next to Helen because I like people, and Helen doesn't want to work in office with me. So we've got a bit of a problem.
You wouldn't want to work in an office with me.
Well, I'd quite like to. Why don't we try it?
Have you met me?
Well, yeah, but I think we could work on it.
We couldn't even work in an office together when we actually jobbed. Anyway, moving on. True or false? Culture dies without an office. You've kind of just touched on this, to be honest.
I agree.
I don't think it dies. You're always going to have some element of culture. It's about whether you're proud of it or not, isn't it? It's about whether it's a culture that, helps you grow.
Point. Yeah. And the last one, if I can't see you, you're not working.
It's false.
Honestly, actually, I think that's false.
We meet so many leaders who think that though.
Oh, do you? You see, even I think I'm quite hardcore, and I think that's false. I don't like people watching me when I'm working, so that would be problematic, wouldn't it?
Be a bit difficult. Well, listen, Victoria and Ruby, that's absolutely brilliant. Thanks for joining us. So from remote perks to in-office pitfalls, Ruby kept it real. That's all for this episode.
As did Victoria.
As did Victoria. I did mention Victoria at the start. Stay tuned and keep your culture on course. Up next, we've got performance problems, passive aggression and tough love with the wonderful Eddie Whittingham.